I'm standing here outside of my favorite local bike shop in Winnipeg, Alter Ego Sports. We're going to meet with James, the head fitter and manager, who's going to take us through the basics of setting up your road bike for max power. And because triathletes' bodies are a lot different than pure road cyclists, he's going to take us through his 5 top tips for triathletes to keep in mind as they're setting up a road bike. Stick around while we head on in and we're going to go through all that. Alright, so we're standing here with James from Alter Ego. James, what is your official Fancy Pants fitting title?
My fitting title is a Certified Master's Body Geometry Fit Technician.
And start to finish, how long did that take you to get?
The first course I went to do was in 2006, and I've been back probably almost every year after that for more courses. And then the certification was in 2012, and lots of fits between that.
So there's a lot of info, obviously, that people can figure out online about how to set up a bike, but knowing what you do, why should somebody go into a place like Alter Ego to get their bike fit professionally?
The biggest thing is you can't do it by yourself or what's put out there on their website. I haven't been fitted in about 3 years, and my other fitters here are going to help me out this winter.
Okay.
Maybe get me fit better.
So you don't even fit yourself?
It's tough to assess yourself with ankling patterns. How flexible am I?
Yeah.
You know, we're looking for natural limitations and small nuances that can really play effect. And the biggest thing in BG Fit is the Z plane. So that's the frontal plane, where your knees are tracking. And that's affected by your feet, your saddle, where your bars are in space, your range of motion, all sorts of little subtle things that you can't measure yourself.
Okay, so before we actually get into your tips for setting up a bike fit, what's a studio that you got here in Alter Ego?
Some of the tools that we use here at the Body Geometry Fit Studio that we have is the Retool Move, the Retool Vantage. So that's 2 tools that we use to help adjust and also an analysis of the body. So we can watch a 3-dimensional fit happening in real time with points on the body with sensors. We also have a pressure mapping system for the saddle. So we can actually see where you're sitting, left, right, fore, aft, how much pressure are you putting in those nether regions.
The dirty bits?
The dirty bits. And all these things are just tools. You need to know what you're doing with the tools to give an end product that's good.
So the Move is the bike, and the Vision is the infrared system that's set up all around here?
Yes.
And they speak together to tell you where people are lined up, what's tracking where, if your body is functioning properly, basically?
Yeah, and you know, we look at the numbers and see if we're within your natural abilities or within norms.
So let's get into giving people some tangible thoughts about what they should be considering if they're going into a shop, and why they should be thinking about getting a proper fit. Big picture, what is, say, your overall philosophy of why people should be doing a fit in a studio with a professional as opposed to themselves?
The biggest thing is, where does it hurt? You know, if you've got discomfort on the bike, let's address it.
Okay.
What's causing that discomfort? Is it the saddle? Is it the reach? Is it the handlebars? Is it your feet? Are your knees hurting?
And hurting is not normal, is what you said to me before, that you shouldn't be hurting.
That's correct.
And even if you are, and you've got issues in your body that are causing that hurt, you can compensate for that on the bike with a proper fit, right?
Most of the time. Sometimes we have to work with physiotherapists and doctors to work in conjunction to get the end product of a healthy, comfortable rider. Other tip is, do you ever use the drops on your handlebars?
I didn't. This is interesting. I never did, and apparently that's wrong.
Yeah, why don't we just cut them off? Because if you didn't use them, why do you have them? You should be able to use it because the brakes are more powerful with 1 finger down here than all 4 up top.
So you should be able to, what you said, is ride in the drops for almost your entire ride, right?
Anytime, all the time. That's what they're there for.
I couldn't do that until a couple weeks ago.
That would hurt.
Okay, so for the second tip, road cyclists are guilty of this, but triathletes are, I think, more guilty of this than anyone. There's a big push towards wanting to be as low and as aero as possible.
That's correct.
What's your take on that?
Lower isn't always better, because you might be beyond your natural flexibility. Once again, if the drops are too low, if your front end of the bike is too low, you might be pinching things here or sacrificing or straining things like your hamstring or, you know, things like that. Sometimes in a lot of fits that I've done, I've brought people up and their upper body has actually gotten lower and more aerodynamic because they're not straining for that position. They're in a more natural, comfortable position.
Is there some sort of a trade-off between your comfort in the aero position and how you actually perform over, say, Ironman and half Ironman distances?
Yep. The biggest thing, depending on your distance, sprint triathlons, we usually go almost at your limit of hip flexion and hamstring mobility. And triathlon, as the longer it goes into Ironman, we bring it up. So we have a percentage window on the hip flexibility. Because if you're out in an Ironman, you could be there for how many hours? 5, 6, 7,
8, I think.
8,
yeah.
10. You can't sit at your limit, then get up and run. That's gonna hurt. So let's open you up, and then you're gonna be more susceptible to run easier and better out of your transition.
So you maybe give up a little bit on the aerodynamics, but in the long run you gain
faster
because
and more powerful,
more
comfortable.
more powerful, more comfortable, fresher for the run.
Correct.
Okay, so triathletes are obviously adding on a couple of extra sports with the swimming and the running that pure road cyclists won't have. Those additional sports are obviously going to change our body. What are the common issues that triathletes will have more often than road cyclists will have that you have to work with it?
We get a lot of run injuries, so IT bands and things like that.
So when you're dealing with, say, tight IT bands, things like plantar fascia, like really running common injuries, what are some of the ways that you've got to think about dealing with that as you're setting up a road bike?
Just making sure we're within natural limits, making sure the Z plane is aligned properly, so that's knee tracking, in, out, what's happening at the foot, making sure the foot is aligned properly, and having the proper support through the whole foot. For a cycling gait, not a running gait. In cycling, we are 4-foot driven, and flattening that arch at 3 o'clock, you kind of lose power and stability in the knee and the ankle.
So as you're pushing down, the foot is
flattening out.
It's flattening out.
So we do a lot of arch support for stability and comfort to help stabilize everything in that area.
Okay, and then for the IT band, it's largely making sure that your knees aren't
it's
wobbling.
Once again, stabilization through the saddle and the feet.
Keeping that whole chain from hip to foot steady.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are a lot of beginner triathletes that are trying to set up a road bike as their tri-bike, strapping on a set of aero bars. What are the differences between setting up that road bike for triathlon versus just setting it up purely for road biking?
The big difference is saddle position, fore, aft. So we go a little bit further forward to
bring the saddle
open up the hips, and shorten the distance to the tri-bars. So sometimes we'll put a shorter stem on there, so we open up the hips and not limit your hamstring flexibility and compromise your hip flexion.
So if the saddle's too far back, it's going to close up.
It's going to close those hips up,
and then if you've got to reach, same sort of thing. It's closing up the hips.
So straining the hamstrings and compressing and contracting the hip flexion.
If you're not set up properly, you're burning out your hamstrings. Hop off the bike, start running. Pain.
That's gonna hurt.
Frankenstein walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. If somebody's looking to get that road bike that they can also use for triathlon, there's obviously some aero road bikes out there. Are there some specific brands, makes that fit a little bit easier as both?
Most road bikes will do both. The biggest thing is making sure we have a seat post that can adjust it, or we replace from a 20 mil offset seat post to a 0 offset seat post.
To bring that
forward.
That seat forward. That's the biggest thing.
That is one of the bigger things.
Okay, so for the fifth and final tip, one thing that you mentioned to me when we were going through our fit was that the fit process isn't just that 2-3 hours that we spend in the studio, that it happens for a fair bit after. So what are you monitoring as you go forward after the fit happens?
Well, in a fit, we sometimes make some minor changes or some major changes. And your body takes 2 to 3 weeks to adapt to these changes. So we want to make sure you're comfortable. And if there's problems, we want to get you back in and address those problems.
And is that anything from just minor tweaks that your body can't adjust to or just isn't taking well to?
If there's major things, we'll address them. We can always go back a little bit and go small increments.
Yeah.
And just see how it adapts over time. And fit changes from now, March, to August. You know, we all get fitter, we all get stronger. We might be stretching more, we might be going through physio. Sometimes I get customers that do fits 3 to 6 months at a time. I even ride my stem higher in the winter and then in the middle of summer. No, I ride in my drops, but only in August.
Well, August is drop month.
Look at your bar tape. If you got white bar tape, where is it dirty? If it's dirty up top and perfectly clean on the bottom, you need a bike fit.
I had very clean drops. Untouched.
I gave you an extra tip there.
That was good. That was 6 tips.
Bonus
5 3/4 maybe. All right, so thanks James. That's obviously going to help a lot of the triathletes and even the road cyclists in the crowd. We are going to be following this up with a pure triathlon bike fit.
Yep.
And that'll be a whole other video. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you hit the subscribe button over here up top. And if you live in Winnipeg or if you're visiting the city, make sure you come down, say hey to James at Alter Ego. It's my favorite bike shop in the city. These guys know their stuff, and I guarantee you that if you come in here, there isn't a single person in the shop that can't help you out with any bike issue that you got. You got good people there. If you want to see some of the other triathlon videos, I think there's one over on that side of James, probably. You don't know it, but it's over there.
I can see it.
And then there's one over here. It's a good one. So thank you, everyone. And you have to say, kill your next A race.
Kill your next A race.
That sounded really good. We got to get you in on every video for that.